Okay, so in this video, I actually want to show you setting up a campaign using Volume DSP and actually setting it live now. But what I've just decided to do last minute is I'm actually going to do a campaign live, and then what we can do is we can see the results of that campaign and we can actually analyze them together. I wasn't actually going to do this because I was going to create a campaign in the new account, the Fresh Volume account, and just kind of show you how it worked, and then I was going to come back and analyze some of my existing campaign data. But I think it might be quite good just to test out a live campaign with you guys. But bear in mind that this offer, I've just decided to go for this Sonus Complete offer, which I actually found on Affiliax. So it's on here. It's the offer which we'd seen on the Spy Tools, but I'm not 100% confident that this is a fantastic offer as of yet. But I've just seen it on them Spy Tools, and I just think to keep this all congruent, it might be a good idea for me just to try and promote this, and we can kind of learn from what the results are and what it looks like. So I'll show you setting that up now, but just to show you here, if we go to if we search this offer, and I'll just tell you why I'm not jumping for joy about this offer as of yet. So it's $78 EPC, CPA, $78 CPA, so they pay out $78. It's a little bit under my $80 mark, but if it does start to convert, we can try and get that boosted up. But I wanted to show the EPC of it. If we go to top offers, the global EPC for this offer, go to top offers. Oh, we need to search it in here. So if we search it in here, the global EPC for this is only $1, which you still can make an offer profitable with a $1 EPC, but it's not ideal, especially when you're starting out. So I probably wouldn't go for this, but I just think while we're here, we're already this far in. We've been looking at images of tinnitus products. It might be a good idea just to try this out. We might make it profitable because it's still it's been earning people quite a bit of money on the Affiliax network, and it is on a load of Spy Tools. And if you notice here, the payout is $65, but because I've got a good track record with Affiliax, I just asked them if I can have a bit of a bump. So they're giving me $78 to start with. We can try and increase it as we go along if we keep getting more conversions as well, which is good. We'll talk more about getting offer bumps a little bit later on. But this is the offer that I'm going to do. So I'm going to come to Volume DSP, and I'm assuming, I've already just done this, but I'm assuming that you've already created your flow, which I covered in the previous video. So I've just added the elements into the flow. So I've got 3 landing pages. They're all quite similar, and I've just ripped all of them. I haven't created my own because this was a last minute idea to do this live with you guys. But I've added 3 landing pages, which I've got from Spy Tools. I've got some ideas of some headlines and some images. And we've obviously added the offer in here as well from Affiliax. So now I'm actually going to set up the campaign in Volume DSP. So the way that you do it is you come to your volume tracker, Volume DSP planning tool at the top, and you can choose your traffic source here. I'm going to go for Rev Content with this because it suits the Rev Content network. Rev Content's got a big audience. It might not get approved on Outbrain because it's a little bit health related and it's a VSL offer. There is other networks which you could choose, like Smarto is a mobile in-app native ad network, which I've had success with. That's not a bad one to go with. But I think Rev Content, Nativo as well is also a good one which I've had success with. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can make good conversions with that. But what I'm going to do is go for Rev Content. It's probably one of the biggest native ad networks. So we just come here and click new campaign, native, and then we just need to scroll down here and choose Rev Content, and then we're going to click next, and this is going to be called Sonus Complete Test. Call it whatever you want. And then this is here where we're going to add in the flow. So I'm going to add in Sonus as the flow, which I've just created again, which you've seen me do in the previous video. And then the domain here is the domain of the offer. So it's sonuscomplete.com. I think that's the domain of the offer. And then I'm going to click next. And then for this one, I'm just going to target the United States. Obviously, you could find this information on Spy Tools, what's already working well. But United States is always a good one. And then we're going to click, I'm going to go for web because Volume DSP have a lot of in-app traffic where there's like news apps and stuff where you can get inside of them. That's like you can get a lot of traffic with those. But for this, I'm going to go for web, and I'm actually just going to go for desktop. I just think desktop's a good one to choose because mobile traffic, there's a lot of it, but it can be, you do get a lot of like wasted clicks on mobile because people click things by mistake. I always find that desktop's a good one to start with because people are sat at a desk, they're reading, they're more inclined to actually purchase something if they're on a desktop. So I always start with desktop, and then if it starts being profitable, we can start moving on to mobile and upscaling that way. We click all operated services, that's all fine. And then advanced targeting. So this is where you would add your whitelist, which I talked about earlier. So this is your initial whitelist that you found either from the Spy Tools, or you've got it from your affiliate, your traffic manager from Voluum. And later on, if you actually start finding out what's working well and you're creating a new campaign, you would add in a whitelist there. So I'm going to add my whitelist into this here. And this is a whitelist that I just know that these have converted for a different offer. So it's not guaranteed to convert for this offer, but I think it's quite a similar audience. And it's a Rev Content whitelist that I know placements which are already converting. So that's why I've added that in, and we'll see how that goes. And then we're going to click next. So here's where we're going to choose our bid. So as I mentioned earlier, the bidding for Voluum DSP is based on CPM, which means that we pay per 1,000 impressions, per 1,000 people that actually see our advert, whether they click or not. So you need to bear that in mind when you're bidding. And basically, it shows you here how much traffic you're going to get. It estimates you're going to get based on how much you're going to bid. Now, what I like to do is go a little bit towards the higher end of the scale to start off with, which can be more expensive, but it actually can work in your favor, because usually the higher you bid, the higher up the page you're going to appear, which actually increases your click-through rate. So it actually can bring your click price down if you bid higher rather than bidding lower. Because if you were to bid like 15 cents, you might be right at the bottom of the page in the bottom widget, right at the bottom, and people have already seen all of these adverts before, so you might not get any clicks if you bid too low. Whereas if you bid higher, yeah, you are paying a little bit more for your CPM, but you might get more clicks, which actually works out cheaper per click, if that makes sense. So what I like to do is bid probably around this mark here, but I actually go a little bit higher at the start just to find out which images are working best and which images get the highest click-through rate. And then what we can do, if we're getting conversions but it's not profitable, we can kind of have a play around with that and maybe reduce the bid for certain placements or increase the bid for certain placements later on, which you can go into as you're analyzing your data. So I would just come here and just go around about this mark. But for this one, I'm gonna, because the top bid is $3.52. This, to get 75%, is 0.39 cents per 1,000 impressions, but I'm guessing that will be 75% of the traffic, but you might not be as high as everyone else. So I like to go the higher end of this section. So this is 0.39 to $3.52 really. So I would probably go $1.20 for this. This is kind of like in between the two, I would say, around about. A little bit towards the lower end of the scale. Probably go actually $1.50. We'll see how it goes with that. Kind of halfway in the middle. And then we can choose our total budget. So this obviously depends based on what your budget is. So obviously I've got a fairly large budget, and I like to just run my campaigns and spend quite a bit of money per day, even at the start, just to get results back as quick as possible. Obviously not too quick. I don't want to spend like thousands of dollars in the first day because the offer might not even convert. But I do like to turn it up a little bit. So I keep it as unlimited, and then a daily budget, a good starting mark is like $300 per day if you want to do some proper testing and get some conversions coming through. If you do set it over $250 on here, you can change it to smooth, which is how I prefer to run it. So it kind of runs your campaign smoothly throughout the day and spends your $300 throughout the day. Now, you haven't got to spend that $300. You could keep it on smooth, keep it on $300, keep it on smooth, and then when you've spent $150, you might want to turn it off if you don't want to spend too much money. Because if you put it as you only want to spend $50 a day, then it won't let you choose that with the smooth option. You'd have to spend that money as soon as possible. So there's two ways of going about it. You can increase the budget, and have it on smooth, or you can, if you've got a smaller budget, it won't be as paced out, which can be a little bit more risky because you might get the wrong time of day. So make sure you're setting it going at the right time of day for your geo. So you don't want to be setting this go if you're based in the UK and it's nighttime in America and you're going to send $50 as soon as possible because you're just going to waste your money. So obviously you would choose the time of day that you want to set it going if you're going to go for this. But ideally, we want to go on smooth. And then we click next. And then this is where we're going to add in the creatives, which we found. If you click on new creatives, it'll open up this option where you can actually add in your images and headlines and actually set your campaign going. So the first thing you need to realize is that all of the different ad networks, because this is controlling all of the different ad networks, they all have different dimensions and different aspect ratios, what they allow their images to be. So you need to make sure you have a look at this and you want to match this, because if you put an image that's too small or the wrong size, it might not let you actually run the campaign, but sometimes it lets you run the campaign and it won't reach that wide of an audience. So you want to make sure you're finding, so this is Rev content and it says minimum 200 by 150 pixels. So what we need to do is we need to make sure our images match that dimension. So the easiest way to do that is go to canva.com, click on create new design, custom dimensions. Now let me just, I've forgotten what that was now. So it's 200 by 150. So then you would come here and you want to make sure it's 200 by 150 pixels, create new design. Now I'll load this template of that dimension. So then what we want to do is upload the images that we found earlier and just basically paste them in here and make sure they're the right dimensions. So we just come to upload, upload media, devices, and then I've added them in here. Can't remember which ones I'm going to go for. And we'll choose these. So then you can just add your images in here. So obviously I found this one. So if we was to upload that, it would be the wrong dimension. So this is why we just do this. And you just need to make it look as good as possible. And sometimes if the images are quite small, it might look quite grainy, but most people are going to be viewing it on an image that big anyway, so it usually looks okay. And then you want to click download. And then what I like to do is, because that's the most smallest image, is I just increase the size by 2 or 3. It depends on how big the image is going to be, but probably about 2. And then we just click download as a JPEG, so it's quite a small sized image. And then basically it'll download the image there, so when we can upload it to volume in just a second. So I'll just do that with this one. I'll do it with this one. Oh, I didn't do the right size then. Download JPEG 2, download. And then I'll do this one. And then I found this one as well, which is a little bit stocky, but it's quite attention grabbing image. It looks like a stock image, but it is quite attention grabbing. So I'm going to test that one out as well, because you actually never know when you're running campaigns what's going to work. So then we've downloaded that one. So then now we can go back to volume and actually upload these images. So they'll be in my downloads up to about there. So then there we go, the images are in there. That looks quite small. Oh no, that's right. So then the images are in there, and then we can basically add in our headlines here. So you want to add 4 images, ideally in the first campaign, 4 headlines. So I ripped these 2, and then I had a play around earlier, and then I've got that one, and then I've got this one, which I know is going to be too long, so let's see what we can do with it. So new discovery, top foods you must avoid if you have tinnitus, ear ringing, and it's even too long with that. I'm going to change that from new discovery. We'll just test it at that. I don't think that's a very good headline, to be honest, but Then we can just make them all capitalized. So we've got 4 headlines to play around with, and then the description here, it doesn't always show up on most things, so you can just basically, I just copy one of these headlines most of the time. You can write one if you want, and it will add it in there, and then I just add in your brand name, which is who it's going to be sponsored by. So if you've got like trending news, it makes it look more like a news website. At the icon, I just put an image of a globe there, so it looks like again a newsish website. This is minor stuff which doesn't really affect it, to be honest. I don't even think it shows up on most placements. It's just some placements, I think, mainly on the mobile phones and stuff. And then call to action could be like read more or find out. And again, it doesn't actually show this on most placements as well, because it will usually look like this. But then we just click create, and then what it's going to do, it's going to create 16 individual images, because each image has a headline, so it works out 4 by 4 is 16, and then they will all go for approval now, and then we can click active and then click next. And then it's going to come to this section about auto optimization. Now, I just leave this off for now. I will talk about this in another video, but basically what it can do is it can auto optimize your campaigns. They don't always work perfectly. You can also do auto pausing as well, which I will talk about in a different campaign if you want to just leave it going. But I think when you're first starting a campaign, you should get into the habit of coming in and checking it out yourself, and looking at the data and seeing how it works, rather than just leaving it for this auto machine, because every campaign is a little bit different, and it depends on a few different variables. So what I would do is just leave this for now until the campaign's going. We'll look at the data, and then I'll show you kind of how this kind of stuff works if you do want to use the auto rules and things like that. Another thing here is frequency capping. So I just usually leave this at six per day. So it means that your advert can be shown to an individual person 6 times per day at max. So if they keep coming back to the news website, your advert will keep showing up, because they don't always click first time, or there's a lot of information, or it might have been at the bottom of the page where they didn't actually see it. So you obviously want to show it more than once if someone does come back, but you don't want to go too far, because obviously if they're not going to want to click it, you don't want to waste money on this, because we're paying per impression. So I just leave this as this for now. If later on your campaign is profitable and you want to try and get more traffic, then you can increase this, and you will obviously get more reach with that. Another little thing to note here is the campaign time settings. So if you want to run your campaign 24 hours a day, but you don't want it running during the middle of the night in your location, you can actually set the time and date here of when you want the campaign to run, and turn it off. Now, you do find that campaigns still make profit throughout the night. I have found, when I first was running campaigns, I turned them off during the night using this, and then I thought it was really profitable. I thought, let me test it out. I want to see how it does even at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. And I was still getting sales at 1 a.m, 2 a.m, 3 a.m. So I've just left it at that. You can use this setting if you do go for the fast spend budget down here, where it's, if you're spending $50 and you're doing it as soon as possible, you might want to just have your adverts showing at tea time, or just in the morning, or whenever the best time you think it will be best time to spend your $50 if you want. But for now, you can just leave it as that, and then we just click save, and then we just need to wait for Volume to approve this campaign. Now, they're usually quite quick. I don't know what the time they work on, but if you submit a campaign in the UK after 4 p.m, they won't approve it until the next day. So they're not working throughout the office at that time. But hopefully we should get this approved today, and then I can hopefully see some results, and then we'll move on to the next step where we're looking at the data and seeing how it's all working.